Udila Purabhavage Dvijamani Gaurayamani Jage
Udila Purabhavage Dvijamani Gaurayamani Jage
Bhakata Samuha Loya Sate Gela Nagara Braje Tathai Bajalo Kol Gana Gana Tahe Jajera Ro
Tathai Bajalo Kol Gana Gana Tahe Jajera Ro
Preme Dala Dala Shonara Yanga Charane Nupura Baje
Preme Dala Dala Shonara
Mukunda Madhava Yadava Hari Bolna Bolo Re Vadana Bori
Mukunda Madhava Yadava Hari Bolna Bolo Re Vadana Bori
Micheni Dava Shegelo Re Rati Divasha Sharira Saje
Micheni Dava Shegelo Re Rati Divasha Sharira Saje
Emono Dulabha Manava Deha Kaya Ki Koro Bhavana Keho
Dulabha Manava Deha Kaya Ki Koro Bhavana Keho
Ebena Vajile Jasoda Suta Charame Pori Velaje
Ebena Vajile Jashoda Sutta Charame Pori Velaje
Yudita Tapana Hoile Asta Vinogelo Boli Hoi Bevyasta
Mudita Tapana Horile Asta Vinagelo Bole Horile Asta
Tabekeno Ebe Ala Sahoy Nabajari Doya Raje
Keno Ebe Ala Shavot Navadari Daya Raje
Jivanaya Nita Jana Hasan Tahinana Vidha Vipadaba
Ivana Nitya Jana Sa Kayana Nitya Vipadaba
Nama Shai Kari Jatane Tumi Taka Hayapana Kaje
Namasaya Kori Jatane Tumi Takapana Kane
Jivaya Kalyana Sadhana Khan Jagate Asiye Moduyana
Jivera Kalyana Sadhana Kam Jagate Asiye Madhurana
O Vidya Timira Tapana Rupe Ridga Gane Viraje
Jati Mera Tapana Rupe Vidagana Virane
Krishna Nam Shudha Koriyapan Jurao Bhakati Vinoda Pran
Nam Sudha Koriyapan Jurobhakati Vinoda Pran
Nam Bina Kichu Nahi Koyaro Chauda Bhuvana Maje
Namina Kichu Nahi Koharo Chodu Malavage
Jeev Jago Gaura Chandra Bole
Jeev Jago Gaura Chandra Bole
Kotha Nidra Jao Sachiracole Bajibo Bolia Ese Sangsara Bitore Hile tumi ovidya rabore Tomare loite ami painu yavatara Ami bina bandhu yara ke ache tomara Ami bina bandhu yara ke ache tomara Eneche oshodi maya nashibarala Hari Nama Maha Mantra Lao Tumi Magi Hari Nama Maha Mantra Lao Tumi Magi Bhakti Vinoda Prabhu Charane Poriya Say Hari Nama Mantra Loilo Magiya Say Hari Nama Mantra Loilo Magiya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद से अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गौ गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप धाम की जय। स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय। All glories to the Assembly Lord. All glories to the Assembly Lord. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
My brother Kusha.
Hare Krishna, you are welcome, Maharaj.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
My pleasure.
So, start now, please.
All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Cheva Naruto Devim Saraswati Vitsa Tattva Jaya Muktiraya Astapaye Subhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhagavati Naisiki. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, Text 21. Tvam Atmanatmanam Avvahi Amogadrik Parasha Pumsaha Paramatmanaha Kalam Ajam Pajatam Jagata Shivayatam Mahanubhava Byodhayo Diganyata. Word for word translation and purport by His Divine Grace is confined to Acharya Srila Abhacharana being the back to the down to Swami Prabhupada. Tvam, yourself, Atmanaha, Atmana, by your own self, Atmanam, the super soul, Avehi, search out, a Mogadrik, one who has perfect vision, Parasha of the transcendence, Pumsaha, the personality of God, Paramatmanaha, the Supreme Lord, Kalam, plenary part, Ajam, bedless, Prajatam, have taken bed, Jagataha, of the world, Shivaya, for the well-being, Tat, that, Maha Anubhava, of the Supreme Personality of God, Sri Krishna, Abhyudayaha, pastimes, Adiganyatam, describe most vividly. So translation, your goodness has perfect vision. You yourself can know the super soul personality of Godhead because you are present as the plenary portion of the Lord. Although you are birthless, you have appeared on earth for the well-being of all people. Please therefore describe the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, more vividly. Purport. Srila Vyasadeva is the empowered plenary portion, incarnation of the personality of God, Sri Krishna. He descended by his causeless mercy to deliver the fallen souls in the material world. The fallen and forgotten souls are detached from the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The living entities are parts and parcels of the Lord, and they are eternally servitors of the Lord. All the Vedic literatures, therefore, are put into systematic order for the benefit of the fallen souls. And it is the duty of the fallen souls to take advantage of each of such literatures and be freed from the bondage of material existence. Although normally Shilananda Rishi, although formally Shilananda Rishi is his spiritual master, Srila Vyasadeva is not at all dependent on a spiritual master because, in essence, he is the spiritual master of everyone else. But because he is doing the work of an acharya, he has taught us by his own conduct that one must have a spiritual master, even though he be God himself. Lord Sri Krishna, Lord Sri Ram, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all incarnations of the God of all incarnations of God had accepted formal spiritual masters. Although by their transcendental nature, they were cognizant of all knowledge, in order to direct people in general to the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, he himself, in the incarnation of Vyasadeva, is delineating the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Just a minute, drying up. So, Omagiana Timiranda Siagana Jana Sanaka Salakaya, Saksuro Militam. Genitus Mai, Siguru Venam Ha. Chichitayam Anobistam, Safitam Jenaputa, Swayam Rupa, Kadamayam, Dadati Swa, Padantika. Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Nityananda Sahotu, Kududhaya Puspavantu, Chita Chandutama. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadara, Sri Vasari, Sri Gaura Bhakti. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpataribhya cha kripasunubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Semate Bhaktivedanta Swami Itinam. Namaste Sara Satdeve Gauravan Pacharane Nirvise Sunyapadi Pasatyadi Sata. So thank you very much again for giving me the chance to come to have your association here. So we'll find out this text. The main text is giving us some understanding about how Vyasadeva himself is the super soul or the personality of God. We find out in the same Srimad Bhagavatam, in the delineation of incarnations, Vyasadeva, I think, is the 7th incarnation that was described, or that is described in the Bhagavatam. Now, the idea of Vyasadeva appearing was to be able to make things simple for us, because the Vedas originally was an embodiment of information culture that is, constituting of different things, devotional, different type of sacrifices, different types of worship, different types of sciences. And in the Kali Yoga, we are characteristically dull-witted. We're not so smart. Our memory is not so sharp, because prior to the Kali era, the student sits before the spiritual master, and the spiritual master recites the Vedic literatures, and then the student will just repeat that, without the use of recording machines. So we are way behind, and we are thinking that the recording gaskets we have shows that we are very intelligent, that we are very sharp. But these external aids were not required in the Satya Yuga, where people were very sharp. And so the idea of Vyasadeva coming was to be able to divide the Vedas, give some different type of, provide some different branches where people could have access to and not really bother so much about the whole of the Vedic literature. And so for us, the worship of Krishna is a preeminent factor. And so things like books like the Bhagavad Gita, which is part of the Mahabharata, they're there for us to be able to understand what devotional service is. Of course, we have other acharyas who have written a number of literatures to support the devotional culture, to enable us to drive home our mission of Krishna, attaining pure love for Krishna. So Vyasadeva basically is in the mode of facilitating this spiritual change, because as we know, in Kali Yuga, little friction could really piece off people. And we lack that sense of concentration. We can, even to sit down in the class for 1 hour, we find that some people will be fidgeting about like a decimal point, because we can't concentrate. This is the practical reality of the lived experiences of people in the Kali Yuga. And so Vyasadeva, although he is birthless, is Aja, because the Supreme Lord is Aja, and Vyasadeva is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. And in the Vishnu Purana also adds that, and that is even referenced by Ajiva Goswami in his writing, specifically the in Jiva's writing, can't remember the exact literature, in the Tattva Sandarbha, Jiva referenced the Vishnu Purana as adding to the point that, yes, Vyasadeva is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord, but sometimes in other instances, a Jiva could actually be empowered to come as Vyasadeva. However, in our very present Yuga, the present Vyasadeva is this Supreme Personality of God, is incarnation of Narayan, incarnation of Vishnu or Krishna. So that is an interesting point that it's intriguing, because in general we know that Vyasadeva is is the incarnation of God. And this to the side, without reading from the Acharyas, who made some further additional information to support the very relevance of Vyasa's coming. So the Vedic literatures were put together, or we are written or divided by Vyasadeva. But even after doing all of this huge profile service, he was not feeling satisfied. And so that was where the relevance of a spiritual master becomes prominent. You see, we may be very intelligent, and we may seem to be all-knowing, but still we need the mercy of a spiritual master. So in the Purport, Prabhupada gives a very insightful statements that although the Lord incarnates or appears on this planet, or the Lord that comes himself, even when Lord Krishna came, he accepted Sanipani Muni as his spiritual master. He worked under him. In fact, Lord Krishna and Balaram, they were saying to the forest to go and fetch firewood. And there was a big, heavy downpour, heavy storm that, couldn't allow them to come back to the ashram. So even the Lord has to work so hard to please his spiritual master. Even the Lord. That shows, he's just giving us an example. And even the Lord could pretend to be confused and unsatisfied by what he has done, except for the spiritual master's intervention. It just shows again how we need a pilot. We need a spiritual pilot to drive our plane. So I was reading something in the Bhakti Bhagavatamrita, Sanatana Goswami. And, you know, when Akura, talking about why we need a spiritual master to lead us through, when Akura came to Vraj to take Krishna and Balaram to Mathura, you know, the gopis, they were in terrible disarray. Some of them were throwing themselves under the chariot wheel. And so many, you know, so many things were going on, which basically amounts to the fact that they didn't want Krishna to live. But Krishna, at one point in time, he was sitting on the cart, on the chariot, and he spoke to the gopis. He said, I am going to Mathura to pacify that impertinent cancer. Now, when Krishna made that type of statement, what does that mean to us? Kusha, can we give just a chance for people to air their views? Can someone tell us about what Krishna meant, that he is going to pacify Krishna, the impertinent, is going to pacify Kamsa?
Anyone have the answer? Kindly unmute yourself and respond, please. Maharaj, for me, I would say it shows that we should always try to beg somebody or make peace with whoever is not happy with us, like Kamsa.
That is going to pacify him. Okay, that is in the literal sense. That is what basically means in the literal sense. So thank you very much for that contribution. That is in the literal sense. But Krishna meant something else. And here what?
Can I say that?
Eh?
Can I make contribution?
Okay.
He wants to clean up the mess of cancer.
He wants to clean up the mess of cancer?
Clean up mess of cancer by getting rid of him.
Correct. Who is this?
Ganga Prasad.
Oh, Ganga, thank you very much. Now, Sanatana Goswami explains that to pacify here, Krishna used a euphemism. Euphemisms are statements that you use something very, very nice, very attractive, very juicy to describe something really ugly. Really ugly. I mean, for instance, say the Boko Haram have gone to kill some villagers. So instead of saying something that could agitate people's mind, you could say Boko Haram has gone to do some ethnic cleansing on that village. That is literally, it doesn't seem something ugly in the literal sense. So Krishna meant, hey, gopis, Vrajabasis, don't worry, I'm going to kill that guy, you know. So if my point is, without a spiritual master like Sanatana Goswami, how can we read that information? How can we relate to that information? We will basically understand it from the literal perspective. So people are very proud of, linguistics are very proud of their use of euphemisms. But Krishna is the original euphemist. And so the Vedic literature is so full that it's just complete in itself. Anything that you want, you can get it in the Vedic literature. The bottom line is that we can't just extract anything we want from the Vedic literature without the help of the acharyas, without the help of the spiritual master. even the devotional service, pure devotional service that we are hankering for, we are looking for, we cannot get it without the mercy of the spiritual master. And so in all circumstances, either directly or indirectly, when it describe the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of God as Sri Krishna more vividly. The pastimes of the Lord are so innumerable, they're flowing like, an ocean. And if you want to discuss about the pastimes of the Lord, what shall we say and what shall we leave out? The Krishna is always very much eager to associate with his loved ones. The issue is that we have to create that love that will attract Krishna to us, to search for us. So I remember one incident in Mother Yasoda's home. Now Abhimanyu had come to Mother Yasoda's home, and Mother Yasoda wanted to give him a box of jewelries to be taken to Radharani. Again, I'm saying this because in the very last line of the translation, it says, please describe the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, Abhimanyu came and Mother Yasoda engaged her assistants that made some fill up a box with jewelries for Radharani. And Krishna and some of his cowherd boys were there in the room watching what was going on. As soon as Mother Yasoda stepped out of the room, Krishna ordered his cowherd boyfriends who were there to remove all of the jewelries in the box, to remove all of the jewelries as quickly as possible. And they removed them. And then Krishna said they should put it inside a box and lock it. So they did. And when Mother Yasoda stepped back into the room, Abhimanyu came in and, okay, let's go. Take the box of jewelries to your wife. So that's how Abhimanyu was so lucky to carry a box of Krishna to his home. An idea is that Krishna was so eager to meet with Radharani and the other cowherd girls. So he could do anything to be able to achieve that. So if our loving service for Krishna and Guru gets to that point where Krishna will be making plans or maybe devising avenues to come meet with us, then we know our life is perfect. So what is important for us in our devotional culture is to be able to cultivate that love. But how can we say we try to cultivate love for Krishna without cultivating love for each other? In fact, Krishna wants to see how we are loving ourselves. Because like you have a child, if somebody professes to love you and do not love your child, you don't take them seriously. But if someone does not even come close to you, and your child reports back, reports to you that, hey, Papa, see that gentleman, he takes care of me so much. He takes care of me so much. The father or the mother will immediately become enlivened, want to make a relationship with you. So in a similar way, if we care for the devotees around us, and we don't need to wait on somebody dies before we bring up some eulogies. As the devotees are working so hard, they're living with us, we should devise means of recognizing them, devise means of and motivating them with encouraging words. And when we're doing this will become very pleased to Lord Krishna. So the gopis, they were always very desperate to be able to assist each other in serving the Lord. So we should also take those cues, how we can assist each other in their different services to please the spiritual master and Krishna. So in the purport here, the idea of the spiritual master is taken into a very great cognizance. Now we have different spiritual masters. We have the Diksha Guru, we have the Siksha Guru, we have the Vatma Pradashaka Guru, we have the Chaitya Guru. Chaitya Guru means the super soul in the heart. The Vatma Pradashaka Guru is the first person who directed you to devotional service or to the worship of the Lord. I mean, like you have the case of Dhruva Maharaj. You know, Dhruva Maharaj was so much agitated when he was abused by his stepmother. He got so furious, he came to the mother and complained to the mother, asked what to do to be able to achieve his goal. The mother said, it's only the Supreme Lord who can help you out. So Dhruva said, so where can I meet him? It's the sages. They meditate on him in the forest. So the mother of Dhruva became his Vatma Pradashaka Guru, the first person who introduced him to the idea of the worship of the Supreme Personality of God. Now the Chaitya Guru is the Lord in the heart. Sarvasya Saham, read this and in this too. Mata Smriti Gyanam Apohanam Cha. In the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Lord Krishna mentions that he is situated in the heart region of each and every one of us. So that super soul, he is the Chaitya Guru. Some people may be so advanced that they could communicate with the Chaitya Guru. So, besides, we have also the Siksha, like the temple presidents or the senior devotees around us. They are like our Siksha Gurus. They help to guide us in our spiritual life. And then we have the person who gives us initiation, or Diksha Guru. So all of these gurus, they work in harmony to be able to help us to move forward, to achieve the goal, Krishna Prema, Pumato Maha. So we have all of the tools Krishna has given us. Krishna did not all just speak Bhagavad Gita and then, went away. He has also provided us with all the tools necessary to be able to achieve the goal. And so, when we understand that we need to take proper shelter of the spiritual master, and that relationship sometimes it's not juicy, Sometimes it looks like as if it is very tough. Because sometimes you are asked to do the things that you don't like to do. That if we take up the armor of sacrifice and deliberate on it, everything has already been done. And it is important for us to understand that the disciple and the guru, they work hand in hand. The both of them are very active, doing something for the betterment of the disciple. And we find that even when Krishna has to take the role of a charioteer, a chariot driver, he didn't just drive the chariot and also became the archer. He didn't drive the chariot and also, has to shoot the arrows. He was driving the chariot, Arjuna was directing where to go, and Arjuna was responsible for inflicting the arrows on the enemies. So in other words, we have to be very active, but under the guidance of the spiritual master. The spiritual master helps the disciple to attain his goal. So we have to have a goal. What is our goal in devotional service? If the goal is to render transcendental love and service, then we're in good hands. Spiritual master is going to help us. But if even we have a different goal, when we engage in devotional service, we're going to be purified anyway. So there is no loss. Whatever the case is, the Bhagavatam mentions that whatever our desire is, Krishna says, you come to me. And we see how the spiritual master responds to the needs of the disciple. And so, if we understand that the world is a mess, the material world is a mess. Sometimes people argue that why you the Hare Krishna? Why are you just pessimistic about the material world? No, this is not pessimism, but it's unveiling the reality as it is. So today you could be the president of the United States. Look at, Trump was the president of the United States, but today he's been kicked out from the office. And he's not liking it at all. And so the important factor we have to understand is that the material world is a world of duality. It's a place where nothing is permanent. You can't hold on to a high-profile position, the president of the United States, for the rest of your life. No. So in the Bhakti, in Nara Bhakti Sutra, the very first sloka is Atato Bhaktim Vyakhyasya. Now, let me describe the process of bhakti, or devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of God. That's the business of another morning. We all have different businesses. People are engaged in all types of businesses, but the business of another morning is to transplant devotional service. How to transplant? He goes from one loka to the other. He visits his different, he visits his disciples. Because he is a transcendental spaceman. He could travel, from one planet to the other without an airplane. And so we have to take the business of taking shelter of a spiritual master as a primary tool for emancipation from these clutches of repeated birth and death, this material world. Sometimes we think that If you have many degrees, then you're perfectly happy. I have friends who have even 3 PhDs. They're not happy. Yeah, they're not happy, you know. So if that inner fulfillment is not there, I mean, it's like you take a fish, you take a whale from the ocean, and you put him as the president of the United States as POTUS. You put him in the White House. You think that you're doing that fish a very good, you know, a thankful service. But no, you're just suffocating him, you know. He's not going to feel comfortable. So in a similar way, whatever positions that we are aspiring for that, or we have acquired in the material world, without Krishna consciousness, it's still not going to give us that inner satisfaction. And therefore, the devotees are very much blessed by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, creating an avenue where we can fill the gap. There's been a big gap in everyone's life in the material world. And what is missing in the lives of the conditioned soul who have detached themselves from the loving service of the Lord. Is that the same loving service of the Lord? And so it is important for us to reconsider how we could intensify our efforts in reconnecting with the Lord through devotional service under the guidance of the spiritual master. Just like even Vyasadeva, when he was confused as to why he was not contented, he needed some clarification from Narada Muni. So, I mean, in all aspects of our lives, in all circumstances, we will always have something that we need to be clarified. That's why we need a spiritual master. We need someone who will be able to boost our vision, to be able to promote our goals and our mission, to help us, to point the way, to show us the way, and to tread on our mission statement. That is the spiritual master. So, Vyasadeva is just giving us a good example. Of course, even Krishna gave that example. He accepted a spiritual master. Lord Chaitanya, he did. He accepted a spiritual master. And sometimes, you know, people don't seem to understand that accepting a spiritual master makes things easy. But in Bhagavad Gita in itself, what Krishna mentions, Tadvidi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanena tattadashi. So, well, we may say, I have a spiritual master. To hell with every one of you. Don't tell me anything. I have a spiritual master. I'll wait for the instructions of my spiritual master. I like to share this. How, you know, when I was in Lagos Temple, I was a young man, brahmachari, in the BBT store. I remember one time the president came to me and said, oh, Vasudeva, can you help to write a newsletter that we can distribute to the life members? Just 2 pages, 1 sheet of paper, back and front. just to update them about how the temple is going. So I said, yes, 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 why not? So the reason why I'm telling this story, is that accepting the instructions of of the temple president that enabled me to become a writer. Most of you don't know, but I'm just revealing this to you. So sometimes Krishna can use your temple president as a tool to be able to give you instructions that will create a viable future for you. So we should be flexible. We should be open. We should be free to work with everybody. And please, I am begging all of you. I'm begging all of you in West Africa. Don't divide the community. Do not divide the community. West Africa, we are known for communal comradeship, working together without discrimination. Prabhupada, this is Prabhupada's house. One big family. You have a big family, you may have your immediate father, you may have your uncle, you may have your aunt, but then it's a big family. It's Prabhupada's family. And so the whole thing is such that if we work together there, if we are committed to pleasing Srila Prabhupada, then our spiritual masters are also automatically pleased. We will pave the way for emancipation from these very crushes of material existence. So, we need to take cue from the incarnations of the Lord, who themselves accepted spiritual master and paved the way for goodness. Your goodness has perfect vision. You yourself can know the super soul personality of Godhead because you are present as a plenary portion of the Lord. Although you are bedless, you have appeared on this earth for the well-being of all people. Please, therefore, describe the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, more vividly. The idea of the pastimes of the Lord is to draw the conditioned soul to come closer to the Lord. We like to hear wonderful stories. We like to hear love stories. We like to hear chivalrous stories, wars. I remember when we were kids, every weekend we make sure that, we go to the cinema to do what? Not love films, war story, war. War film. Yeah, so we like this type of things. And so Krishna created all of these pastimes to attract us. And so we should take advantage under the guidance of our spiritual masters, under the guidance of our senior devotees around us. And in that way, we can make ISKCON greater than anyone can think of. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
Shamaraj, thank you. We have a question from Kavekanapu. Kavekanapu, unmute yourself, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much for your wonderful lecture, Maharaj. We are very grateful to have you. My question is relating to the point you make about people saying that Hare Krishna people are very pessimistic. So my question is that sometimes it's true, and we can see sometimes it affects so many devotees that in the early days, because of this philosophy, they don't even have impetus to work. Even though they have family, they have no impetus to work to maintain their family. They just believe, okay, Krishna is there, or some by donation, they are going to take care of the family. So, and also we can, if we relate it to the instruction of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, in the beginning, Krishna instructed Arjuna about you are not the soul, you are not the body, you are the soul. If you kill, you will die at any time. But at the end, also we can see that he now gave him so much knowledge that he need to do his activities on that battlefield. So I don't know how we can balance this with our own day-to-day living about this pessimism philosophy that we know that we can end today, we can die today, we can die tomorrow, and people become sort of relaxed about their material duties. So Maharaj, please, can you expatiate on that?
Okay, thank you very much, Kavi. It is important. It is important for us to understand that if we have to act based on our conditioning, I'll take another example. You know, I had a case to deal with some time ago. A family came to me, husband and wife came to me, and the wife said, the husband said the wife is accusing him that he stopped his job. I said, but did you stop your job? He said yes, because he had saved enough money. He had saved enough money, so he had to stop the job. I said, but did you discuss with your wife that you're going to stop the job? Did you explain this to your wife? So my point is that if you have a wife, you have a family, there is a social prestige that comes with the wife discussing with other women and telling them the type of work that her husband does. Sometimes they feel very bad that their husband don't have a job. And so that creates some type of psychological setback in their social relationship with other women. So I said, you're married. You cannot behave as a Paramahamsa. You have to come down to a level. Act on your level. You have a family, you have a child, whatever you want to do, discuss with your family. You are not just by yourself. See, if you're a brahmachari, you can carry a bag today and say you're going to India. If you have a wife, you cannot just carry a bag and say you're leaving Lagos to India. What is the provision that you have made, that you have created for maintenance of the family? And in fact, you can't just travel without the consent of, you have to discuss it. Even these days in ISKCON, people are not allowed to just abandon their families and took sannyas. The wife will sign a document, which should be tendered to the GBC, that yes, you have done all your responsibilities. You have provided a house, you provided finances for my maintenance and children maintenance. So things have changed. If we have skills, we should be able to be a devotee, a functional devotee, and at the same time be able to, do some nice service, nice job. And Kavi Kanapura, you're a perfect example. You were living in a temple. When you got married, you got a job, you have a family. So this is a good example, so that, people don't think that we're just lazy. We speak one thing and we don't do that. So Krishna has given us a big brain. For what? To just sit back and say, oh, well, I'm a devotee, my children, my wife, Krishna will take care of it. No, it's a wrong conception, and it drives people crazy. And that is why these days, one of the severe setbacks that has been haunting us is that in some communities, we've created an environment where people don't want to be responsible, but they want to have good housing, good meals, and good maintenance. If we have to get a family, we have to maintain a family, we should be responsible. we should take a good job and take care of our children. Except we are working for ISKCON, we are getting some type of, some type of arrangement where you'll be taken care of. But otherwise, another thing is that we may have children and say, well, I'll give you an example. I was in Gitanagra one time. So this family, the man is my friend. In fact, his father is a retired chemistry professor in New York. And the father used to invite me to his, that's how I got to know all of the children. And all of the children, about 5 children, all of them are medical doctors, except for this guy who did a degree in IT. So then he got married, and he came to Gitanagra with his wife. And what he told me was that the newborn baby they have, they want to make her a carhead girl. A carhead girl in America. Okay. So, in other words, there is no schooling for the girl. But the whole of his family, they are all doctors. And they are staunch devotees. Staunch devotees. They are all initiated staunch. The father is a staunch devotee. The mother is a staunch devotee. His siblings, brothers, they were all staunch devotees. But here is a newborn baby, and this is his plan for this baby. I asked him, what did this baby do to you? What is the offense of this baby? What is the offense of this baby to you? So sometimes we miscue. I have to explain things to him right there and then before he got really satisfied, and he changed that plan. Imagine a newborn baby, there is no provision for education. So what type of life that child is going to live in America? So, Kali is important. This is a very important issue you brought up. Yeah, some people are just lazy, and we use devotional service as a facade. We should be practical. We have a family, there should be some planning. We have a family, we should be responsible for the family. In fact, if we have a family, we should be responsible for the family and even give donation to the temple. So, and these are the things I see. I mean, in the places I've been traveling to, this is what has been happening. We should not miscue the philosophy. So, if you don't want to be responsible, then you need some things to buy, some things for your wife. Then you have to go and meet your guru to provide the things. Come on. It's not practically viable. So we should change our mindset. I'm sorry, but you asked a question, and I just have to be open to you. I've been traveling around, and what is obtainable is that people who have families, they are responsible for their families, and they also contribute to the temple. And without getting a good remuneration, how are you going to do that? So our children, we should be prepared to give good opportunities to our children for a viable future. So yeah, we should not use philosophy to kill our social life, kill our spiritual life, kill our economic life. We have a lot of opportunities to be able to grow. And so we should take advantage of what is available on ground, train ourselves, and try to be a good example. Kavi Kanapura is a good example here. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Maharaj. Our next question is from Krishna Sevika. Kindly unmute yourself.
What time is the class ending?
Maharaj, today you are staying for 2 hours. There are so many questions. when the question is over, then we close the class.
Kusha, stop threatening me. Stop threatening me.
Maharaj, I'm using what do you call it? Euphemism that you use in the class.
Okay.
I'm using euphemism to let you know.
All right.
Mr. Sevika, kindly ask your question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, can you hear me okay?
Krishna, what?
Maharaj,
Mr.
I don't know.
Sevika, Kevin. It's Kevin.
Somehow or other, Maharaj, I've been getting that name.
Are you initiated now or what? Hey, wait a minute.
No, I'm not. I'm not, Maharaj, but
There's so much of stress. There's so much of stress in the purport about initiation. They should choose someone, or you know.
I have something cooking right now as we speak. Okay. I'm not going to say too much, but I think something is pending. But anyway, Maharaj, you made a very nice point. I appreciate that. You talked about this divisive spirit within ISKCON that's going to destroy us. And I was boiling some water, I think, when you were saying that, so I wasn't completely tuned in. But I appreciated that very much, how you talked about that, how that lack of spirit, that lack of unity, that lack of cohesiveness and everything else. So we see even, I mean, we have Hare Krishna West Africa, we have Hare Krishna East Africa, and we have Wake Up South Africa, WUSA, you know. And this is just an example of three distinct entities who could be doing so much more strength and unity, strength in numbers, I guess you can say, you know. So I think even within our own society, these kind of problems just create problems more so in the society. Like Prabhupada said, the problems we faced really are more internal than external. The problems that we as an institution are facing are as a result of, you know, what we're doing or what we're not doing within ISKCON. In other words, we're not encountering so much external opposition as we are internal opposition, or an internal lack of commitment to work together as a cohesive unit. So I'm just wondering if you can speak a little bit on that. If you think I'm wrong, correct me a little bit, or whatever your views are on that point are.
You're totally right. I resonate with your idea. You're right. Because unity, what I would call synergy, is a buffer for high performance and productivity. What three people can do very successfully, those three people, they do it separately and bring the results together, does not match the results of the three people working together and producing. So that's called synergy. And so if we understand the scientific meaning or scientific undertone of working together, then we could create so many divisions, all in the name of I and mine. But, you know, the bottom line is Krishna's family. And so if we can just integrate all of our forces together, it will produce higher results and create a better performance. That is the principle of synergy. It's not me talking about it. It's a scientific theory, tested, implemented, and has yielded very high results. Okay, let me digress. We have the scriptures, but even sometimes it's so difficult because we are used to just repeating the stories. I'll give you an example. So there was some guy who would approach me. He's arranging a program for, you know, PhDs, and I said, all right, see, I'm in the management science. If you want me to help in doing something, let me know. So I showed him my latest publication on de-escalation strategies for kleptocracy in the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. So I said, the whole thing is very sophisticated. You should just look at the conceptual framework where I use sonic therapeutic intervention as a framework, because there I was able to draw in, you know, this chanting of the holiness. So he read the paper, and I quoted Prabhupada, 2018. That is the database. And he is supposed to be a scholar who is coordinating scholarly events. But then, you know what he told me? He said, but in what context are you quoting, are you making the reference Papa 2018? Because he's not expecting to see that. Because our scriptures are not scientific. Our scriptures and they're mythology. I said, what? Mythology. I am in Vrindavan. Is Vrindavan mythology? Kurukshetra is there. Is Kurukshetra mythology? Sometimes the people hear words, statements of Western scholars, and they repeat those statements, not knowing they are really like abusing themselves. So I have to explain everything clearly to him that what I mentioned there is the Veda base, and the essence or the undertone is a narratological study. Narratology means a story. And I give an example of, what is his name? The incarnation of Lord Brahma, Haridas, who chanted 300,000 names. And although he was being pursued by different temptations, people sent even prostitutes to him, he changed the prostitute, self-control. I said, look, these are typical examples. And you want to believe that these things are mythology. So my point is, we have the stuff, we have the information, we don't know how to use it. Or sometimes when we throw it away completely. The unity that made this movement sustainable and productive, we should not undermine it. And we cannot undermine it. I will not live to see that sacrifice of Prabhupada being undermined. And so it is important for us to understand the scriptures, so that if someone says something, we should be able to, digest it, instead of just, accepting what somebody says because he is or she is a Western scholar, and then you are also accepting what they are saying. I remember one time we were doing parikram in Vrindavan, and we entered one shrine, and I pick up a pamphlet, and the same self-castigation, self-castigation of people right here about the Vedic tradition. The same statement I saw there, and this is all mythology. I said, do they understand what they are repeating as mythology? Right here in Vrindavan, they are historically, and you say it's mythology. So we may hear about Prabhupada, how he formed this movement. And maybe tomorrow we'll say, oh, well, that is all mythology. But there are people here, Prabhupada disciples are here, right there in West Africa, Kavichandra Swami Maharaj is Prabhupada disciple. How can you say otherwise? So it is unity that built this organization sustainably. That's my point. And we should uphold those very precepts that pivot the unity. In unity, we will be able to do amazing things. Yeah, there's no problem in having, some carcasses there and carcasses there, but ultimately we should be able to come together to build a strong foundation for sustainable Krishna consciousness. We should read the scripture and understand it, so that no matter what somebody says, we should be able to understand what he meant, and not just, throw the Vedic literature, throw the Vedic literature away that, oh, this is just some religious dogma. And this is someone born here and a leader in our movement. He's the one who is saying that. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
And then he said, can he come? Thank me so much. And they said, can he come to see me? I said, look, Prabhu, I'm a very small boy. I'm very busy. So it's unfortunate. It's just unfortunate. These are people who are piloting affairs. And this even a second generation. They are supposed to be the ones who take up affairs of management of the organization. And it's already in a big position. But just repeating the castigation of the Western scholars on the Vedic wisdom, that is his watchword. I feel so bad. I'm sorry, but sometimes you have a bad lived experience, and you need to share with your friends. And this forum is you, my friends.
Thank you, Maharaj, for your kind answer. Just to make some correction to what Kevin said, we don't have Hare Krishna West Africa, we have Hare Krishna Africa. Our name is bold in global social platform. That is one. Our next question is from Sahadev Prabhu, please. Sahadev, please.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the class and good to see you. Are you still in India?
I am locked down here in Vrindavan.
Ah, okay. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, my question is about guruship, because Prabhupada spoke very much about the position of the guru and its purpose. And when we do chant the Sri Guru Charana Padma song, the translation says the Guru helps us attain the mercy of Krishna. And my question is about mercy. Mercy by definition.
About what?
Mercy.
About what? Mercy, okay.
Yes. Mercy by definition is that somebody just have pity on you. You do not have to do anything to deserve the mercy. But in Krishna consciousness, we have to do something in order to deserve Krishna's mercy. So how is that mercy if Krishna expects us to do something before we get his mercy? That's my question.
We have to do something because if even Krishna is giving us Alava, Krishna is stretching Alava to us. We have to do something. What is that? We have to stretch our hands out to take it. Because stretching out your hands is work. We have a mechanical advantage that could be measured based on that. Work over effort. That's a mechanical advantage. If you stretch your hands to collect the halava from Krishna, that is work. You're doing something. See, let me just narrate this scenario. There is this Krishna's friend, Swarup. He is actually, anyway, let me not get into that. There is this Krishna's friend, Swarup. So, he is actually from Radha's family. And, they make different type of preparations. And Swarup was there by Krishna. And in the morning, they were coming to feed him. And Radha brought the best of sweets. The best of sweets. And they gave it to Krishna. And then Krishna, he played some tricks. He wanted to give his friend the best. So he made some trick. He squeezed his face and he removed the sweet from his mouth and put it into the mouth of Swarup. Swarup did some work. He opened his mouth. He opened his mouth, and Krishna put his sweet in it, in his mouth, and he was melting in ecstasy. It was too soon. So mercy doesn't mean that you will just sit down there in a static equilibrium. That's not the implication of mercy. See, if we don't do something You don't get the mercy. Even in the colleges, the professor comes, he provides a line where if you get 79%, say you're doing a doctoral program, 79% means you fail. Now, in your coursework, you attended the classes, you did the homeworks, you did all of this stuff. But then the professor comes to say, so many people, they are lacking behind in this course. So there's some mercy here. I give 10% bonus. That is the professor's mercy. But the mercy will not go to the people who did not take the course. You understand me?
Yes, Maharaj.
The mercy goes to the people who took the course and they were not able to make the mark. So with the 10%, the one who gets 79, now he gets credit. It is something. A number of people like that. So mercy doesn't mean that you just, you don't do anything. Mercy means that we do something, but then the real thing is Krishna has done everything. He just wants to give us the credit. That's what Krishna told Arjuna in the Gita, in the discussions. He said, everything has already been done. You just do it. You just go and fight and take the credit. I've finished every deal. I've finished. So Krishna is extending his message to Arjuna in terms of take the glory. I don't care about glory. I'm already, Krishna's true Bhagavan Swaya. So mercy means a lot of things to different people, but in the devotional culture, the causeless mercy of the Lord means that we don't merit it, but we got it anyway by his mercy. But we are in the system. That's why we got it. If we are not in the system, we will not even hear about mercy, causeless mercy. We did something. The purification is not enough, but Krishna, came to balance it up. That's the causeless mercy of the Lord. We don't merit it. But Krishna, makes us make a good deal out of his causeless mercy, and then he awarded us that merit. Doesn't make some meaning, Sahadev.
Thank you, Maharaj. Our next question is for Ganga Prashad Prabhu.
My friend, Kusa.
Maharaj.
Hey, Kusa.
Maharaj, no, normally our class is 1 hour 30 minutes, but if there are so many
it's more than 1 hour 30 minutes.
No, Maharaj, you still have 30 minutes to end your class. Oh. We are never tired of hearing, according to Sukadev Sutta Goswami, the Jesus of Nami Saranya. It's euphemism. You give us a grammar this morning. Euphemism. Krishna going to Kamsa, you use a big grammar, so we are giving it back to your holiness. No verse.
All right.
Maharaj, why my own? I still have 5 questions on my own. I'm just giving people a chance to ask. That's why I'm saying this.
All right.
No verse.
I've surrendered to you, Kusa. Kusa, I've surrendered unto you. Kusa, I've surrendered unto you.
Ganga
All right.
Thank you very much for the lecture. Some of the content of the lecture creates for curiosity or awareness. And 2 aspects of it. One is the issue of the alert. You raised an alert, and it was specifically designed to West Africa. Should not divide. And African adage says, what an old man sits down to see, even if a little child climbs network tower, he will not see it. So I'm just pleading for caution If you have specific areas where you think the unity can be broken, if you opine it, it will help us be armed guard so that we can achieve the unity that you are proposing. That's the first side. The second side is you mentioned about people taking responsibility and not become docile under the guise of being ashramites or living in the temple. But I could remember Upala Prabhu specifically mentioning you when he first came to the temple, and he told you he wants to cultivate love of God and all of this. And you had told me, although he met the person in the shop, he welcomed him, and then he told him to go meet you as the president. He came to you and you told him, you can do that from the house. You don't have to come here. And he said, he felt a little bit kept aback, that you were not receptive enough. But in the end, he ended up staying in the ashram. And he stayed to the point where he became fertile for marriage. And then the challenges started coming. So my point is, your answer to Kavi Prabhu was individualistic. I'm thinking in terms of where the institution also is the cause of the problem. Through admission process. We admit any and anybody, and then when they become frustrated and confused, they will not know what to do. So these are the two sides of my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ganga. I'll take the last one. You know, when things don't go right with our devotees, we are responsible. We can't pass the buck. So, yes, the institution, we are responsible because we don't give people proper guidelines or even promote a culture of a foreseeable future. Because initially, we just see that, wow, everything is so juicy. You know, this devotional life is so sweet. Let me just sit here. And then we find situations where some of us, we don't have skills. And then we settle down for child rearing. But then the child is not going to tell us, well, daddy, or well, mommy, I understand you don't have any skills. And, you know, you're depending on Krishna. So let's just depend on Krishna. The child may not be able to adjust themselves to that degree. They may not have that type of staunch faith. And so, yeah, it means that we misapply the philosophy and we did not really relate to the foreseeable future about the challenges that we could face when we admit people who do not have, something to be able to depend on. I mean, I give the example, and I've spoken privately to Srivas about how to adjust the admission processes in our temples there. I gave the example of some of Rana Maharaj's temples like Pune and Chupati. And I know of a number of Rana Maharaj's disciples who were formerly living in the temple, and they're big preachers in the US. They were living in the temple. At some point in time, they decided they want to get married. They have skills. And they're still going on with their preaching. In fact, I remember one of them, my friend, he's preaching to a whole colony, a fertile land, fertile ground. And because he has skills, and he also had developed a company, an organization, but his devotional life and his work, they are all going pari passu, on two rails, like the Upanishad mentions. And so I mentioned to Srivas about the need for us to rethink about what you said, the admittance, what type of people we should admit in our temples to become full-time priests, So yeah, I mentioned that, and Krishna Bhatt, when he was alive, he told me, he told me on a sick bed that whatever you see, say it. If you don't follow, you're free. So I not coming to blow a trumpet outside. I speak to because Rivers, he trained me up. I see him as my mentor, and up to today, I mean, that's how we relate. So I spoken to him about the need to readjust the quality of people we admit to the temple so that they don't become a liability. So I did that because whatever that happens to any devotee, we become like the ones to blame. The organization becomes the ones to blame. And then the other point, in terms of you said the alert I raised. Yeah, if someone has some plans to move into the temple, it's not everybody that we should just say, all right, move into the temple, and they get carried up with the fever of brahmachari. And even when they are up to this, when they want to get married, and sometimes we could even discourage them because, but then at the long last they get married. And so who loses? Yes, we may say the time invested is very important for their spiritual upliftment. But then the family, the children who have to be taken care of, they are also there. And if we help our devotees to plan their lives properly, then we could be making a better arrangement for the future. Otherwise, whatever. So I'll give you an example. Some of you know Pretu. Pretu, he told me a story when one temple president was at Ibadan. At that time, he was an undergraduate. He was doing undergraduate studies. So it depends on individuals. He was doing undergraduate studies, and then he went to meet the president. I don't want to mention his name. He went to meet his president, and he said that he wanted to give up his studies and move into the temple to become a full-time devotee. So the temple president said, "Under my dead body." He said, "Why?" He said, when you finish, when you graduate, you'll be more useful to the movement. You'll be more useful to the ashram. And so he told me that, and he said, that same person is superlatively active in devotional service, pioneering different type of preaching activities in the army. He's a major in the army. He's a scientist. He has a PhD in ecology and a master's in fisheries, but he's superlatively active. So we may ask, that devotee, that president, who told him not to give up his studies, did it do him any good, or any there was an harm that it did to him? So we have to evaluate situations and then project to the future about. Now the point is, like we have in Chopati, we have hundreds and hundreds of devotees living in those temples, Chopati and Pune. But the point is that the preaching is going on very vigorously. And so if we look at situations and we examine what is on ground and plan ahead for some of the people, we could actually encourage our movement to become a better place for a better people, suitable for a viable future. But if we use one answer or one medicine to treat all the diseases, we may not be able to cure all the diseases. So this is what I think we should look at. And in terms of the unity that I'm referring to, is that, for instance, right now we have 3 gurus there, and my point is that the original way we've been living together should be continued. We should not begin to make campaigns about, this is my guru and this is your guru and this is. I mean, I saw how every one of us were living together. We may have different spiritual diksha gurus, but we're living together. And so I'm saying that spirit should be upheld. That's my point. Does it make some sense to you?
Thank you very much. We experienced this in the past during the Bhakti Path, Krishna Path saga. distractions was there also, but it is good. That's why I asked, because you are experienced, you lived in the environment, and so you must be having some concern. I'm very grateful. Other side is when the authorities also find a devotee who is endeavoring to sustain or create a viable source of support for his family. And then they call it Maya, clamp down on it and destroy it. So the devotee is neither able to keep up, nor is he able to contend with the challenges. My first point is admission. Second one is this, clamping down on ideas that are viable, projected by devotees, and then in the end, the devotee is frustrated and his devotional life becomes very difficult.
Can you repeat your last? I mean, I didn't get your last statement you mentioned.
The devotee is taking viable economic efforts, but the authorities see it as Maya and they clamp down on it. The devotee does not benefit from it. The institution does not benefit from it. It creates an atmosphere of frustration.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing that. I think that the leadership we should become more mature in terms of understanding people's needs, the social needs, the economic needs, and the spiritual needs. And so, if we just broad-minded a little bit and understand that someone is making serious efforts to become Krishna conscious, and they also need some economic development, we should, instead of bringing down their hopes, chattering their hopes, we should actually come intensive them and discuss how to give them support. That is how I look at it, instead of creating, or if I use my position to demean your thoughts and ideas about your economic development. And that does not really augur well for our devotees' economic viability and the future. So we need to readjust that type of thought pattern and see how we are becoming more understanding, and seeing how we could work with devotees together to support their business ventures and business mindsets for their economic development. So far, we are not in a position even to, to supply them the resources or money they need. We should encourage them to be able to boost their economic development.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Maharaj. We have a question from Ranti Adepoju, Lagos. Then I can ask one question before we can close. Ranti, please.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. My Dandava Pranam to you, Maharaj. All glories to the Assembly of the Devotees. Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Jai. Actually, thank you so much for your wonderful class. I really appreciate that. A lot were mentioned, regarding taking responsibility, and so much was mentioned about balancing the spiritual, material, and psychological, emotional, and economic life. So, yeah, but yeah, I mean, in a situation whereby we find ourselves in a country like this, especially you mentioned the geographical delineation, which is West Africa. So West Africa compared to East Africa and to South Africa, it's just a geographical boundary with different or with distinct characteristics. So within the space of devotional service or religiosity within this space, I felt like, maybe probably just like a lot of people have been asking the same questions about what is ISKCON doing that is not doing well, in comparison to Christianity and Islam. This is in the aspect of either although we have this philosophy about simple living and high thinking, but also in terms of our own personal presentation, in terms of ideology about our philosophy and living, the living holistically about what we believe or what we preach, is quite a pivotal to our regional development, which is in the sense of either we, seeing to, the Ganga Prashad Prabhu actually mentioned about temple admission and stuff like that. And, with my little experience in the system, I just felt like, maybe probably there were a lot of, or there should be a lot of structural adjustments, that needed to be put in place in terms of like, I believe we have some astrologers in various temples, and then I begin to see at one point, I was beginning to question myself, like, yeah, we have astrologers, but we have like, temple devotees and, having some needs, at some point in terms of either personal development or emotional, spiritual development, stuff like that. So I was beginning to think or ask myself, like, where do they function in terms of like, oh, like you admit this person in a temple. I think the first thing to be done is a background check in terms of like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, what are you coming from? What is your plan? And then we can check like, oh, this person based on astrology, oh, you'll be good at this. And then we can begin to, call them to notice like, oh, I think like in this angle, like, you might be good venturing into this, stuff like that. But, the whole astrological aspect or sections of the temple, I don't know, like the functionality, although it might be good, maybe probably like, getting some prashadam or getting some things or, giving some needs to, outsiders or some other things like that. So I felt like that aspect could be tapped into, because also like our philosophy is quite rich, and then Srila Prabhupada as well mentioned, like, sometimes at some point in India, like when a small baby want to get married, they get to check the astrology, like, oh, you want to get married? And then you feel like, oh, yeah, I think the star matches in this point, and then this is the best match for you. And then you can be able to advance and stuff like that. So I felt like that aspect could be one area which we can, be able to, I'm just saying this is more, not more like a question, but I felt like these were part of some little observations or realizations I can actually point out, and I felt like, we need to, develop in that aspect. And then my second question is all about, will I say, yeah, in terms of like our presentation out there, like, now 24th century, we see a lot of technological advancement and, moving concurrently with the way trends is going all around the globe. And then we begin to see like, even the Christianity or the Islam, like they're beginning to, look into the system or the environment or the surroundings and see like how they can adjust despite their rigid or despite their dogmatic structure or philosophy, stuff like that. They see how best they can tap into the environment based on, different situations, circumstances, and time, stuff like that. So, I mean, I have this kind of issue about like, sometimes not really issue, but are you just thinking like, could it be why we're not making enough growth in West Africa? Because like West Africa is more dominated with Christianity and stuff like that without those kind of people. And then people are a bit kind of not so
Maharaj, do you get his point?
The thing hang up.
Yeah, I think he was just making an observation and comment and contribution what need to be done that we can discuss during the Stagosi. Maharaj, can you take my question now? I have a question. Yes. My question is on karma, jiva, and guruship. You mentioned that a jiva, in the course of your lecture, that a jiva can be empowered to come as a Vyasadeva. You also mentioned that we know that Krishna accepted Sandipadimuni as his guru and ran errands for him. So my question is, there's also karma. We know that one will reap what he or she sows in life. That's karma. So initiation is kind of a karma. So my question is, can a guru come back in the next life and become a disciple of his disciple? Can the disciple become his guru in the next life or in the next planets where they go? Because Prabhupada said, if a guru doesn't attain perfection, a devotee doesn't even want to go back to Godhead. They can preach anywhere in the planet Earth. They can go to Brahmaloka, Shivaloka, wherever to preach, not only on this material world. So can they go in another planet where a disciple will become a guru to his present guru based on karma, sowing and reaping? If so, a guru that have 10,000 disciples, how can he go back to Godhead when he must reincarnate and pay back all the 10,000 karmas he initiated?
That's interesting, Kosha. Interesting question. You see, I'm a down-to-earth guy. When he asks a question that I have no answer, I can vividly tell you I don't have an answer. So why do you ask whether a guru has to reincarnate to be a disciple, to be the disciple of his former disciple? I have no idea about that.
Because there is a verse I was when I was in Mayapur in Bhagavatam, I would check the canto and the chapter and verse.
Oh, please check and then share with me.
In that verse, Prabhupada said a guru will not go back to Godhead until the last of his initiated disciples is freed and go back to Godhead. That keep me thinking. So if guru cannot go back to Godhead when one of the disciples is not perfect, then that means guru will be reincarnating. That is karma. And along those reincarnations, the disciple can also become a pure devotee and be the one to initiate him. So who saves who?
Okay. Please check that verse and that text and let share with me. Okay.
Yes, Maharaj.
It's important. This is a very philosophical topic. I like that. You see, this is the beauty of Africa. I mean, the devotees, they're very investigative. They're very talented in terms of being learned. So I mean, I like this. I like this very much. Search out the verse so that we can know the context and then address that. Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you for your time. 1 hour 43 minutes you have spent. Not even up to 2 hours. That's due to euphemism. The last question I want to ask you. You mentioned that when Krishna was going to kill Kamsa, he used euphemism not to agitate the mind of people. So is it the same thing when the diplomacy in politics, diplomats said we are giving this country sanction? They make it not to agitate our mind, but really they want to kill us with sanctions. So these people, that means they are also following the footsteps of Krishna as politicians. They use the word sanction. They didn't say we're coming to kill you.
No, the politicians, well, the word sanction is a literal word, it's a literal noun, and has a basic it has outstanding meaning without any facade. A euphemism is a way of expressing something really bad, but in a very sweet way. Like Krishna said, pacify. Pacify is someone that means going to make some peace. Someone is upset and you're going to pacify him. It's only a wife who tries to pacify the husband when they are angry because they have the power, they have a strong bond of affinity, and so that is easy. But sanctions itself is a harsh language, and so it is not a euphemism.
Okay. Sahadev raised his hand again. I don't know. Sahadev?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, may I ask one last question, please?
All right.
Okay. Thank you very much, Maharaj. My question is in regards to material science and our spiritual teachings. We understand from our teachings how solar eclipse, I'm not sure whether it's solar or lunar, how they happen. Like when we saw the moon god and the sun god were sitting together, they were sitting next to each other. And then the demoniac being, what is the name? I've forgotten the name. But he went and sat in between them. That is how we get lunar eclipse. Rahu, thank you, Rahu. Now, if that is the case, which I believe that is the case, I assume that every knowledge is subordinate to spiritual knowledge, the Vedic knowledge. But how are the scientists able to predict exactly what time, like in the next 15, 20 years, the scientists are able to predict today that at this date, this Rahu is going to jump and sit in between the sun and the moon gods, and we're going to have the eclipse.
Okay. So, thank you very much, Sahadev. The Vedic literature is so broad and wide, and so even in ISKCON, there are people who are in charge of making the Vaishnava calendar. I don't have any idea about that science at all. I only use the calendar. I don't. You see, one thing I like myself is I don't claim what I don't have. Yeah.
No, Maharaj, I asked this question to you in particular because of the way you present your teaching. You know, some people will not even entertain questions like some of the questions we put into you today. Some people will not even entertain it. So we truly appreciate to have somebody like you who will entertain. Yes. Thank you.
I mean, the area of astronomy, I don't have any knowledge there. You see, I try to do some devotional service, and my main interest is not in astronomy or astrology. I mean, a number of people that do astrology and all these mystical things. But, you know, unfortunately, that has not been my interest, so I didn't find time to dig into that. So, yes, I must confess that I don't have that information. But I appreciate the confidence that you have in asking all of your questions.
Well, thank you very much, Maharaj.
His Holiness Paribrajaka Maharaj has something to say.
Okay.
Paribrajaka Maharaj, can you kindly unmute yourself and camera so we can see Your Holiness and you can ask a question?
My Dandava pranams to you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Dandava pranam.
So I've written the comment. Would you like to read it, Kusha Babu?
Okay. He said, "My Dandava pranam to you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. May I humbly say that the relationship between myself and you and other great personalities is eternal and absolute. The relationship between myself and my disciples is relative. SK, the absolute and the relative are always interactive on this mundane plane. Hereby lies the peculiarity and sweetness of Lila. Lila means secular, no circumference. Hare Krishna."
Thank you very much.
So I was just emphasizing that our relationship as brothers and sisters is absolute. But my own personal relationship with my disciples is a relative conception. In the whole, so within the absolute, the relativity exists. So, but the main, most important thing I'm seeing is that Vaishnavas are beyond the three gunas. So our activities is on the absolute plane. So when a guru with his disciple as such, all this is going on the higher plane. This is something beyond what we are seeing on this plane of the three gunas. I just wanted to emphasize this.
All right. Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, we ask all devotees to kindly unmute yourselves and let's chant Hare Krishna for Maharaj for coming.
You should see it.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Hare Krishna. Thank you for the association.
Now finish.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Bye.
Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Thank you for the association.